Does the Chancellor and do the Department of Ed really have a solution? Good news is that we have advocates here who are really the best in the country and who are fighting day after day.
Now I have the pleasure of introducing a woman who every time I see her blows me away. She has become a national hero to parents and teachers alike. She's also an incredibly prolific author of 10 books and more than 500 articles and reviews, and she is my personal hero. I'm delighted to introduce to you Dr. Diane Ravitch.
Our nation is now in the midst of an education frenzy that dares to call itself a reform movement. This is a movement backed by our society's most powerful and wealthiest people.
I was disturbed as a parent to discover to what extent private billionaires with foundations and agendas and zero expertise in education and zero accountability were influencing public education policy in the United States.
They say that our schools are failures, that our test scores are terrible, and that the best way to fix schools is to close them.
It was pretty shocking to me to learn that there are two people from the Gates Foundation who now work inside the Department of Education, that Arnie Duncan used to be on the board of directors of the Broad Foundation.
This movement threatens the future of public education, and it threatens the education profession.
The Broad Prize resides in the U.S. Department of Education. And I ask you, is there a better symbol of the infiltration of our government by private interests and private corporations?
The corporate reform consensus is wrong. It's based on ideology, not evidence. The corporate reformers are sowing conflict and division among parents, conflict and division among teachers.
There is an agenda. There are strings attached to this money.
They're tearing communities apart. They're demoralizing teachers.
The strings that are attached to these agendas are binding our children and binding their teachers to policies that are failed and are damaging them in their schools.
And they're doing incalculable harm to American public education.
It all boils down to this as a parent. Why should Eli Broad and Bill Gates have more say as to what goes on in my child's classroom than I do? Thank you.
But let me say that I'm not here to defend the status quo. The status quo is terrible. The status quo today is defined by No Child Left Behind. It has been the law of the land for almost 10 years. It has compelled educators to focus relentlessly on testing. It has a philosophy that I've called measure and punish. Well, having a goal of 100% proficiency in school would be like having Congress pass a law saying that by the year 2014, every city in America will be crime-free. And if any city is not crime-free, we will close the police department. What it does, though, is that it delegitimates public education. It sets it up for privatization.
This is about privatizing public entities, and it's not just education, it's spreading to various entities.
If you say, well, we haven't reached the goal, then you open the door to the corporations that say, I can do it. Let me have a school. Let me have the public money.
It's defunding public entities. This is not about our children.
Higher test scores are not the goal of education. They're an indicator. Tests should be used diagnostically to help students and to help teachers. When tests become high stakes with punishments and rewards, then the emphasis in testing switches to test-taking skills.
By the way, there is no standardized testing in the country of Finland in any grade. No standardized testing. And yet they score the highest on the international competitions called the PISAs.
When there is too much emphasis on testing and test scores, there is increased incentive for cheating and for gaming the system. And over this past decade, we have seen many, many examples of cheating scandals. So Race to the Top has also promoted this idea about teacher evaluation being based on test scores. But most testing experts say that it's wrong to do this because test score gains and losses depend in large part on who happens to be in your class.
Another expert on the Finnish system named Pasi Sahlberg was recently asked about the current push towards test-based teacher evaluation in the U.S. Quote unquote, this is what he said in response. If you tried to do this in my country, Finnish teachers would probably go on strike and would not return until this crazy idea went away.
Now here's what happened this year. Student not doing real well in math. He's in 6th grade. His mother paid for him to get tutoring because he was not getting any extra support at the school. Scored pretty low on the state test, did well on the reading test. They said, okay, you gotta go to summer school because your math is low. Went to summer school, did well in math, got a B in math, had a problem with his reading teacher. He might have been a little bit bored because he didn't really need the extra support in reading. She kept snatching his papers away, giving him zeros. Turns out he flunked reading in summer school. So guess what? He had to be retained. Now his mother goes, but wait a minute, didn't he go to summer school really because of his math score and he did well in math? Well, we have rules and we have to go through these rules. It's crazy what they make kids do. And what do you think an 11-year-old boy is going to think about this? What is he going to think about the value of his education?
Finns do not believe you can reliably measure the essence of learning. You know one big difference is that in the U.S. it's based on a belief in competition. But in my country, we are in education because we believe in cooperation and sharing. Cooperation is a core starting point for growth.
Merit pay has no evidence to support it. Good schools depend on collaboration among teachers. Teachers sitting together and talking about how to help the kids that they all know, not on teachers competing with one another for dollars.
So this is the model we should be looking towards, a system based on cooperation rather than competition, trusting and respecting teachers rather than scapegoating them, de-emphasizing standardized testing, and providing smaller classes, which is sadly to say the opposite direction that our country is moving towards.
The bottom line is that education is not a race. Education is not a competition. Education is an effort to raise up a generation of children who are all winners, not divide them up into winners and losers.
This will only happen if parents band together, push hard to make our voices heard, and work with teachers to provide a proven, progressive vision of education reform that is clearly based in research and experience and will make the privatizers blanch and retreat back into their corporate haunts.
So what we have today is entrepreneurs investing in what they call the charter industry.
What we've seen, now that it's 5 years later since Hurricane Katrina, what we see is a loss of neighborhood schools.
They do not see themselves as collaborators to public schools, but as competitors.
My own child attends a charter school. It was not my choice. It was the school he went to before the storm, and I wanted him to go back to some normalcy. But when we came back, his school had become a charter school. His principal became the CEO, and her salary went from around $80,000 to $240,000.
Charter schools seek to take over public school space. Even when the charters have billionaire sponsors, they still want free public space, even if it means pushing out a regular public school.
Schools choose, and parents and children lose.
Charters do everything that the corporate reformers want. They don't have unions, they do have performance pay, and they can fire anyone they want whenever they want. They should get astonishing results, but they don't. Study after study has reached the same conclusion. Charters produce results that are no different on average than regular public schools. There are some that are excellent, some that are terrible, and most of them are in the middle.
What we're finding is that many of the children in New Orleans who have disabilities or unidentified problems with behavior are being pushed out of charter schools. On average, most of the parents I work with, their children have attended 3 to 5 schools in the last 5 years.
There's one charter school that looks as though it deserves all the applause it gets. It's called the Seed Charter School. The attrition rate at that charter school is 75%. So 96% of them go on to college, though.
What we can do is demand greater accountability from these schools, demand that they follow the same laws as traditional schools, demand that they post their attrition rates. We want to know each month how many kids come in and how many go out.
The most important reason for hope is the pushback that will come from parents and teachers.
We want to do something. Parents want to do something. We know in our guts that there's something wrong.
My conclusion is parents are the sleeping giant of this debate.
When you go into a school and start asking questions, people look at you like you're crazy. They try to marginalize us, but we will not be marginalized.
So far, the debate has been captured by one side. They own the media. These are the people that want to label your children, take away your public schools and privatize them, and recruit non-educators to staff and run your schools.
This total exclusion of parents from the category of people who matter is echoed by Bill Gates, Eli Broad, and many of the other people who have hijacked education policy in this country.
Don't let them do it. Organize, speak up.
We have power, we have information, we have the internet.
Write blogs, Twitter, go on Facebook.
We are getting together.
Write letters to the editor. Definitely write your elected officials. Make your voices heard.
And we will win.
There are 50 million students in America. That means that there are at least 50 million parents who care about each one of these children. If the sleeping giant awakens, you can take back American education. And the time to start is today. Thank you.
There's inside of every single one of us this little nagging voice that says there's something that's not right here. I don't know exactly what to do. I don't know who I can talk to. There's got to be other people that feel like me. And that's what Parents Across America proposes to do. To gather up all those gnawing feelings, gather up all of those misgivings, and give you the tools, the information, the research, the sound bites, everything that you're going to need to stand up on your own and protect not just your children, but our children. I can't hear you. Who's with me? All right, let's go save America.